On the western coast of Ireland, hidden beyond cliffs that tremble beneath the crashing Atlantic waves, there stands a ruin so feared that locals avoid even looking at it when they pass the road nearby. They call it, on Monastery, the Black Abbey, a monastery built in the 13th century where monks once prayed day and night for the salvation of Europe during the time of famine and plague. History records that when the Black Death reached Ireland, the abbey sealed itself from the world, locking the gates so no sickness could enter. But sickness did not need to enter. It was already within. Every monk trapped inside fell ill, one by one, until their chants turned into screams, their prayers into curses. The abbey became their tomb. For centuries, storms battered its walls, yet it stood, untouched by time, a scar upon the land. No grass grows within its courtyard, no birds nest on its towers, and fishermen swear that when the mist rolls from the sea at night, voices rise from within, low, mournful, chanting in Latin, echoing as though from the depths of hell itself. It was this legend that brought Elena, a young Spanish journalist fascinated with Europe's darkest folklore, to the Irish coast. She had written about haunted castles in Transylvania, shadow creatures from the Black Forest, and blood-soaked legends of Eastern Europe. But the Black Abbey was different. There were no tourist brochures, no guided tours, only silence and warning. The locals she met in the nearby village refused to speak of it. An old man spat on the ground when she asked for directions. A woman crossed herself and whispered, "Do not stay after dark." The abbey does not let go. Yet, warnings only fed Elena's obsession. She arrived one autumn evening when the wind carried a bitter chill. The horizon bruised by the setting sun. She parked her car beside the rusting gate and stepped out with her recorder, her notebook, and her pride. Crossing the threshold into the courtyard was like stepping into another world. The air felt wrong, heavier than the ocean wind. Her footsteps echoed against stone, but too long, as though someone followed. Her recorder picked up something faint, a murmur beneath the sound of her breath. She stopped, listened, replayed. The static hissed, and then she heard it, chanting. A low, rhythmic prayer in a language she could not understand. Distant, yet close, as though whispered directly into her ear. She pressed on, lantern in hand, through the crumbling archway into the Abbey Hall. The roof had long collapsed, but the walls stood high, dripping with moisture, blackened with age. And on those walls, she saw symbols, scratched into the stone with desperate hands. Some were prayers, but others looked like warnings, frantic scrawls in Latin she couldn't fully read. Protégez-nous, n'intraveris, sanguis et tumbra. Protect us, do not enter. Blood and shadow. Elena shivered, but she did not leave. She raised her lantern higher. The light stretched across the great hall, illuminating the stone pews and the cracked altar at the far end. That was when she saw them. Figures, dozens of them. Hooded monks standing along the edges of the hall, their faces hidden, their bodies motionless, as though waiting. She blinked, heart racing. Her lantern flickered, and in that instant they were gone. Empty shadows. But the chanting grew louder, now surrounding her, seeping from every corner of the ruin. Her breath quickened, yet she steadied herself. Whispering whispered into her recorder. Hallucination, perhaps, a trick of the mind. But when she turned to leave, she found the archway behind her had closed into darkness, and the exit no longer looked like stone, but like a mouth, swallowing light. Her lantern burned lower as the night deepened, the mist curling into the ruin, wrapping around her legs like fingers. The chanting swelled, echoing with dreadful unity. Then, one figure stepped forward, a monk taller than the rest, his hood shadowing his face. Elena whispered, "Who are you?" Her voice trembled, cracking in the silence. Slowly, the figure raised his head. The cowl slipped back, and beneath it, there was no living face, only a skull, rotted yet moving, jaw grinding as if still bound to speech. From its hollow mouth spilled a word, dry and broken. Penance. And then all the others turned toward her, their eyes, hollow sockets glowing faint green, locked on her. Their lips, withered and torn, whispered as one. Penance. 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 Elena backed away, clutching her recorder, her lantern shaking in her hand. "This is impossible. This is impossible," she repeated, but the monks advanced, their skeletal feet dragging, their robes swaying with each step, though no wind touched them. The chanting rose higher, deafening, rattling the very stones of the abbey. In eternum. In eternum. Forever. Forever. The lantern shattered as if struck by unseen hands, plunging her into darkness. Ah! She screamed, fumbling for her phone's light, but it flickered and died. Cold hands closed around her wrists. She kicked, fought, but there was no flesh, only bone and shadow binding her in place. The ground beneath her shook, split, and from the cracks came a breath, hot and foul, smelling of plague and decay. The monks circled her. The next morning, villagers found her car abandoned by the gate. Inside it was her notebook, half filled with scribbles of Latin phrases. And beside it lay her recorder, still running. When they pressed play, there was no silence, no explanation, only chanting, low, endless, suffocating. And if one listens long enough, past the voices of the monks, beneath the waves of static, you hear something else. A woman's voice, Elena's voice, joining them, another soul claimed by the Black Abbey, chanting for eternity, sealed within its cursed stone. And so the ruin stands as it always has on the edge of the sea, waiting for the curious, the proud, the unbelieving, waiting for someone like you, who might think just for a moment that legends are only stories. But if you ever find yourself on the Irish coast, and the mist rises, and you hear voices from the ruins, do not go closer, because if you do, you may never come back. Dozens of them, their voices now shrieking, ripping through her skull. Her recorder screamed with static, and through it, she heard her own voice, repeated back to her, distorted and broken. Her own scream, echoing before it left her mouth. Then, silence. Only the leader remained before her, skull grinning, empty sockets staring into her soul. He raised a hand, bony fingers curling into a sign of blessing or damnation. The earth gave way beneath her, and she fell, stone and soil swallowing her whole. She clawed at the air, but the monks leaned over the pit as she sank. Their hollow eyes watched as her body vanished beneath the ground. The last thing she saw before the earth closed above her was the altar, cracked and bleeding, as though alive.